Sorry.
But sasa this is horizontal.
Of which seed change tuko natafuta? Ni haifanya nyuma tungoje.
Manget mnabo online. Sasa wote mikipira online. Ya hapa ndo sijata nya Spania feature ngatata uloro na muje. Meeting. Muje pesa. Mwana time na uloro pekee moja na
Begir ke.
Ndio kuna kwanza so hapo kwa loko mimi na kazi tu hapo hiyo kwanza tu
Kikeseri kweli wa nini charge density ya sasa nje kwa Nigeria
mimi ndio bora mimi charge density ile area hapa ni tena ndio secure ile kitu kama speed
kibur kama simu
Ngoja nisione. Mimi maana glass. Baada jaanza. Tusome.
Here how you calculate charge. Basically collection of charge.
You want to be complete. And the inner people mini try my grace.
Mau pas ya? Ini gue nyangka pas. Pas. Dengan apa lagi ya? Ini manu aja ke mes, oleh cuma mes. Ini nyakanda kok pas.
Mbona yangu haionyeshi picha?
Hebu mimi uliza.
Now this is KUC214, so let us start. Yeah. There's somebody to give us the meaning of KUC214. Mr. Picho, you can give us.
Okay.
Everyone to mute this microphone. Or
I'm gonna be using now.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Are you all well?
and rate to
Yes, we are aware. But let us continue.
all right. What's up, guys? Just all of you.
Ini biology.
Class you money kaka dano timore ndipo winje manane ochola dan stop recording
watu wanyamazi.
Odoke na doda. Opero bwana.
Weteki, we group ya wajaro. Piga kore to mwena. Piga support. Nyano. Rigi jogi opambana. Dogo tuje kwenye mreji. Sasa
Sama nani amem.
you know go get a big TikTok you know what so
Acha hiyo fala mnasumbua bwana.
Wanaongea hapa kitatu.
Let us be serious.
Well, stop that nonsense. You are doing that.
what a walk.
Are you booked? Stop that nonsense.
Obire class. Okay, obire class. Ambo
Tombo doshi. Uyega. Umwega. Abirujua dinango.
Good morning. So allow me to take you through how you can access the e-learning notes. So what you are supposed to do, you're supposed to go to Kibabi University website. So here it is. Kibabi University, that is kibu.ac.ke. Once you go to Kibabi University website, you click on this button. Then you select e-learning portal. I think you should be able to note down the process because I'm going to show you how to access the lecture notes for this course. Within the next 5 minutes, I'll be through, then I will allow your lecturer to start the intended lesson. So you click on the e-learning portal, and here's how the interface looks like. Now you are supposed to log in. You click on this button, or we call it URL, or the hyperlink, to log in. Once you click in, it will ask you to enter the username and the password. So the username is your registration number, and most of you who have not changed the password, you use your same registration number as the password, and it should be in capital letters. So registration number in capital letters as both your username and password. Then you click on login. The system will show here your name. Once it shows, it indicates here your name, it means that you have logged in. After that, I want you to enroll into KUC214. How can you do that? You come here and search for this button. Let me just try and zoom so that it appear the way it will appear on your smartphone. Yeah. So you come here and search course, and you type here the course code, that's KUC214. Once you have typed the course code here, you click on this search button to search for that course. So you search by course code. I think you should note that down. It will show you various number of courses. So to be very keen, you should select a course that has your lecturer. So like this one, we have 2 lecturers. That is Mr. John Boyd, regular student, September, December 2022. Although you have another one called Mr. Kenny Wahungumasi, but this one is teaching evening students, September, December. So our course is this one, KUC214, State Society and Development, regular student. So you're supposed to click on this title. You just click on it once. Then the next step, it will take you to enrollment options. So what is the enrollment key? You're supposed to type here the enrollment key. Let me just illustrate. So having the course code as KUC 214. Let me just illustrate. You're supposed to generate enrollment key from this. So the enrollment key, you start with the word Kibu, then you add the course code. And this one will give you, the key will be Kibu KUC 214. So this is the enrollment key. So you take the enrollment key and go and put here Kibu KUC 214 as your enrollment key. Then you click on enroll me. So it will say that you are enrolled in this course, and you see here the lecturer has already put the course outline, topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, and then others are also available to reveal. So that's how you are supposed to enroll in that course. So most of you are asking, where are the lecturer notes? The lecture notes are found on the e-learning portal, of which you need to access. So once you access these lecture notes, the system can indicate if you have accessed or not. So let me just check students who have enrolled or who have accessed this course. The likes of Steve Omondi 3 hours ago, or Musala Abigail 1 day ago. So we have students who have been enrolling, who have been accessing this course, and you can see the logo shows, or the register shows how often you have enrolled or how often you have accessed the course. So if you just sit and relax, waiting for exam, you know the system, we have the policy that shows that we need to access 80%, you need to attend 80%. So this e-learning portal can record how often have you accessed the e-learning. Like you have seen this guy called, let me just show you just a bit. It can show you how often you have been accessing this content. So if you have any challenge, you can visit our office. It's called Odela, Open Distance and E-Learning Office. And this office is located at ABB 101. So if you have any challenge logging in or enrolling to the course, kindly visit ABB 101 to be assisted on how to do it. So this being a common course, and we have a new way, all common courses are being done online because we have the e-learning system, and we need to access and use it to put it into use. So you're supposed to go to Kibabi University website. Let me just repeat again. You're supposed to go to Kibabi University website, that is kibu.sc.ke. Yeah, once you're on the Kibabi University website, click on this button, you are the top right, top left side. Then you click on the e-learning portal. Click on the e-learning portal. Then click on login in your top right corner. Enter your registration number as both username and password in capital letters. Very simple like that. Then you click on login. So what I would like you to know is that enrollment is a one-time process. Once you have enrolled into a course, you don't need to enroll again. So let us assume I have enrolled into KUC 214. So next time I'm going to log in, I just go and click on my courses here. Just click on my courses. Then you'll see the courses here. So because I have already enrolled this course, I don't need to enroll into it again. I just go and click on my courses, then I go and click and select the specific course that I want to access. and I'll have to download this lecture notes on my laptop or my smartphone, and then I'll be able to open and read it. You see, your lecturer have already put the notes here, so stop complaining that you don't have notes. The notes are there on the e-learning. It's up to you now to access them. Yeah, I think that's enough. For any challenge, you can visit Odell office at ABB 101 for support. Thank you. So let me allow your lecturer to take charge and continue with the intended lesson of the day. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, class. Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay, so welcome to this particular lesson. So welcome to this particular lesson, which I took you through last week, where we were discussing about what really happened after independence in Africa. So at this particular juncture, we looked at some states in Africa being a very serious failure. So of course we've got different states in Africa which are perceived to be performing according to the constitution, but we have a very classic example of a state in Africa which is deemed to be a failed state. Now, sometimes somebody can question what we mean by the term failed state. So I'll take you through one of the examples of failed state in Africa, that is Somalia. So welcome, so that we can be able to discuss why Somalia has been perceived to be one of the failed states in Africa. Now, if you look at Somalia, for instance, way back 1960, that was the time Somalia became independent. Somalia basically could have been one of the best best countries in Africa to have served the national interest, but there was a missing link, because the personal interest, the national interest turned out to be the personal interests. Now, what is so interesting about Somalia is that it is only one particular ethnic group, as opposed to many African countries where they have varieties of ethnic groups. Like, for example, in Kenya, we have around 44. In Tanzania, we have around 160 ethnic groups. Now, they speak one language. They have one same religion, which is Islam. And Somali failed to benefit. When Somali gained independence, this was among the pioneer countries in Africa to be independent. But all of a sudden, they could not stand to benefit from this nationalism. So the problem with Somalia is not actually basically based on ethnicity. The problem is clanism. So Somali is one ethnic group, but many clans. So after independence, power was concentrated on developing their own regions instead of the whole country. Because of a certain clan was in power, and once in power, they had no interest to also ensure that other clans benefit. So one particular clans benefited at the expense of the other. That's why this was the genesis of failed state in Somalia. Basically, we know education is a basic requirement for humanity, which was not the case in Somalia. So education was not so given a prevalence in Somalia. Now, I'm trying to point out why Somalia is a failed state. Because one, you look at education. Education was not actually provided for in all the clans. If you look at it in terms of resource distribution, there was skewed in terms of distribution of resources. So it was not equally distributed countrywide. And that is why, coupled with all the above mentioned challenges, in 1966, there was a military coup which was staged in Somalia, and which ushered in a new political dispensation under the president in the name of Siad Barre. Siad Barre, if you look at the preamble of P.S. Siad Barre, he was a policeman, and before he took over power. So you can actually be able to attribute that military men or personnel cannot be good presidents because they don't exercise what we call democracy. When Siad Barre took over power, this was perceived as a military government which was promising democracy, and there was also promising some sense of good governance. Those were some of the initial promises espoused by Siad Barre. But you see, no sooner did he took over power than he became a dictator. So between 1969 and 1991, because of the dictatorship of Siad Barre, each clan in Somalia wanted to control power, and that is where there was some sense of disagreement amongst these clans in Somalia. Now, Siad Barre did not stand to his promises, so he went to war with itself in what was called a civil war. So this is a very interesting scenario because it is the Somalis who fought their own clans. So this was the rise against the clans in Somalia. This was an internal war, and the moment a country engages in war, you cannot be able to realize the sense of development. So that's why Somalia failed economically. Because of all these problems coupled together, it now led to what we call the generation of Somalia into chaos at the expense of economic, social, and political development. Somalia now became what we call a country of warlords. because each clan wanted to have a say in the economy. The country's resources went to finance the civil war, buying guns, buying bullets, procuring bombs at the expense of feeding the population. You know, they wanted also to pay these militiamen. They wanted to feed these militiamen, and all this in the name of depriving the Somalis of their livelihood. Now, because of all this, Somalia was now reduced into what we call dependency syndrome, where for the sake of their livelihood, they had to seek for foreign relief at the expense of reconstructing their economies. So that's why you look at Somali failed because it was not actually providing services to the people. Now, to even to gravitate the situation more, even to a more worse situation, Somali began to fight. They fought Bare in the civil war, and because of fierce fighting, Siad Bare was overwhelmed with these forces, and Siad Bare was ushered out of the government in 1994. So 1994 is a very key milestone in Somalia as a country, because this was the genesis of the downfall of the Somali government. Because after Bare, there was no central government, and Somalia now became totally a devolution state, and it led to the total collapse of Somalia. The warriors now continue to fight for power. They now took the country under what we call the state capture and dominated all the clans. So some few clans now, I mean, the warlords now control all the clans in Somalia. And every member of these warlords wanted actually to head Somalia. And because each one of them came from different clans, and each one felt that it was their chance to now reign in power in the name of eating the national cake. Now, notwithstanding the concern for the entire nation, they claimed they wanted to go to war for the purposes of liberation. And that was why Somalia became a failed state. So the war now became a war between men, and this war translated into destruction. People were killed. Many people were subjected to become refugees because of insecurity attributed to famine, and all this made life unbearable in Somalia. There was no government, there was no law, there was no order. So you can imagine a country without all those constitutional requirements. How do they operate? With no government to run. I don't know whether you imagine a country where there is no bank. No. A government which does not recognize national currency. You know, I was shocked to see in a Facebook people carrying money in the wheelbarrows in Somalia. You know, carrying money in sacks. So which means the value for currency declined, rendering Somalia a failed state. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot actually make such a country to develop because of that. And that is why, if you look at Somalia, Somalia has been one of the most richest countries in Africa because it used to sell mutton to US. And all this collapse. This was a source of revenue to Somalia. Somalia used to earn a lot of money from selling animals. But because of controversies in power, Somalia became the state. If you look at buildings in Somalia, they reduce buildings to shells by bombarding them, destroying them. So you could imagine how Somalia could be called a developed economy. So Somalia basically is a failed state, and it will only take the hand of God to redeem that country called Somalia. Looking at the population, like for example in Kenya, we have a good number of refugees from Somalia. Why? Because their country failed a long time ago. So there's no more production of food because Somalia actually became a state. Because of the sense of insecurity, many decided to seek refuge in Kenya. And Kenya is a hub of refugees, hosting a good number of refugees from Somalia. Now, as we talk now, Somalia is actually being held hostage since its survival is based on foreign aid. You can imagine Somalia with the famine, Somalia with all the problems, Somalia with all the crises. It is a country that should not be worthwhile discussing because of the atrocities state managed against its people. People in refugee camps cannot contribute to the development of their own country because they are living in Kenya. So how do you expect them to rebuild their economies in Somalia? The case of Somalia is a case of disaster because slight constitutional crisis will lead to total disarray in every economy in the world. Nationalists do not only love their countries, they also love one another. So looking at Somalia, Somalia is a failed state because there is no sense of nationalism. There is no sense of love for their nation. You talk of Al-Shabaab, you talk of Al-Qaeda, all the militia groups are found in Somalia. The pirates. So Somalis destroyed their own country. Somalia has no means of making and even distributing the means of development. Even money is becoming a problem. Nationalists were supposed actually to work together in building the nation of Somalia, sharing the resources through democracy. But that is the problem. They have never had a government in place. A popular government in Somalia was supposed to use resources once taken by imperialists to build the nation. But this was too unfortunate situation in Somalia because Somalia is grilling and gravitating with the challenges of economy, challenges of social aspects, challenges of political aspects. So that is been one of the disheartening situations in Somalia. You know, materials of war are bought from Europe and America using dollars, money, which should have been used to develop the African national economy. So money meant for development has been now channeled to use for weapons. Money meant for development have been now used to buy food in the refugee camps. So that is why when we talk about Somali is one of the very interesting countries in Africa to have actually been faced with a lot of challenges of economy, challenges of social welfare of the society, which has been so compromised. So, ladies and gentlemen, naweza toa hiyo video kwa YouTube.
Takuosha video.
Is it possible?
Nataka kuosha video juu.
So Somali. No, Nani, there's something I wanted to show. So just for a while, I wanted to show you something. I wanted to show you a clip of how Somali is. So basically, we have had a lot of problems with Somalia. And so Somalia is a very classic example of a very failed state in Africa. And I don't think we have any other. Not because of intervention in countries like Sudan. That is another country that have actually ventured into being one of the failed states in Africa. But they have a government. You know, a government is to contact. It's a video Somali.
Where is it? Where's the video?
Iko kwa nini? YouTube.
What's the title of the video?
Just nitaka niwaonyeshe tu hakuna video Somali. So ladies and gentlemen, so I want us to have a look at the situation in Somalia.
Some students who are asking more questions. Someone is asking, can we say this is nation versus? Can we say this is nation versus state? is here. Maybe we can continue asking them questions. Let's ask them some questions from the video.
Okay. Now you've watched the clip on the Somalis. So my question is, from the clip that you've watched, now how can you account for the state of Somalia? Looking at the scenarios that were being visualized. Now, do you see a hope in Somalia if the situation is escalating the same direction? And this is just but an introduction of what is yet to happen in Somalia. Are the international community ready to avert this particular crisis in Somalia? Are they ready? So these are some of the issues that you need to interrogate. Now, if Africa could now move in that direction, could we have what we call an African state? So sometimes as a country, we need to also to protect our nationalism by ensuring that so we need to ensure that we protect Somalia, and it should be a responsibility of the African countries to ensure that so we need to ensure that Somalia has actually been given some protection by the international community. That's why we have the African Union, AMISOM, which has been sent to Somalia. We have had the intervention by the UN, United Nations, to intervene in the situation in Somalia. But behind the scene, who could actually be engineering this crisis in Somalia? So that's something that we need to interrogate. Can we be open to say that it is the role of the imperialists who are actually agitating the already fragile Somali into a more chaotic nation? So these are some of the questions that we need to interrogate. And that is why it is very paramount to appreciate the fact that Somalia has become a failed state, and for how long will Somalia be in this situation? And when will this situation come to a standstill? So that is why we need to actually ensure that as a country, as a continent, we need to provide a solution, a way out, so that we also develop a mechanism of addressing the political limbos in the African continent. So, ladies and gentlemen, having looked at that clip, that is just about the tips of the iceberg of what's happening in Somalia. Now, can you put ourselves in that scenario? If such a situation is introduced in Kenya, how could life be? So that is why there is need to develop what we call patriotism, love for one's nation. There is need to have that nationalistic ideologies in our minds about Africa, about Kenya. There is need to embrace an all-inclusive government, regardless of diversity, regardless of races that we have, regardless of ethnic groups that exist in a nation. We need to bring on board each and every individual so that we have a better African society. Because if we cannot be able to control the situation in Somalia, we are still watching very closely at Sudan, Southern Sudan, which if measures are not put in place, Sudan can slip into the same scenario as Somalia. There is this also country in Nigeria, the Boko Haram. If situations are not taken care of, Nigeria, if not carefully prevail upon, it could slide into being a failed state if situations are not taken care of. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, so I wish to agree, and we need to come to consensus that as an African continent, there is a dire need to ensure that we provide room for democracy to prevail upon, so that through good democracy we shall be able to realize political goodwill. And it is through political goodwill that we are able to appreciate the growth of a country's economy. We cannot have a sound economy if we have no goodwill, political goodwill. We cannot have a sound economy until we have the social goodwill of the society. So, my big question is, whom do we claim for the Somali state? You remember when the AMISOM sent the troops to Somalia? You remember the El Hade episode where the AMISOM soldiers and most of the soldiers killed were from Kenya origin. I have a very classic example. I lost around 2 friends. I knew them very well through the El Hade episode in Somalia, some 3-4 years ago. Now, so you can not only the Somalis suffer, but the suffering is also felt beyond the borders of Somalia. Kenya is now becoming a porous state because Somalis are able to enter in and out. How do we control them? So that's why our government has put mechanisms in place to ensure that our borders are catered for. They are well taken care of so that we don't allow the infiltration of the Somalis into Kenya. We have had waves of violence in the coastal region of Kenya, all attributed to Al-Shabaab from Somalia. We have had many young men and women being taken to Somalia as Al-Shabaab sympathizers. Now, so if the situation will keep on in that dimension, what will be the state of the affairs of the neighboring African countries, especially closer to Somalia? What will be the situation? So not only is Somalia a failed state, but the failure of Somalia will be felt beyond borders, because we bear the burden of the Somali. We host the biggest refugee camp in Kenya, the Dadaab refugee camp, hosting a good number of Somalis. What will be the way forward? How do we sort out the menace if we cannot address the problem in Somalia? And it is because of slight mistakes that were perpetuated by leaders. The lack of sense of nationalism is what has compromised the state of Somalia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to wrap it up by saying that there is a need to address the problem in Somalia. There is need as scholars to also play a very key role in ensuring that peace prevails in Somalia. What is our role? So that is why we need to have some advisors. That is why we need to have some intervention by the neighboring Eastern African communities to address the same problem. Now, so if you look at the situation in Kenya, the former regime under President Kenyatta selected some leaders to intervene in the case of Somalia. Most of the Somali leaders are now being, provided with security in Kenya. So the question is, if you have no government, then why should you have a leadership which is housed by a neighboring country? Because we have heard most of the Somali leaders are hosted in Kenya. So what is the need of having these leaders? So that's why, we are a body. And if one part of the body is injured, the pain will be felt in the entire body. So we need to heal Somalia. We need to bring solutions to Somalia, so that the problems that medieval Somalia should not be actually felt in the neighboring communities in Africa. So there is need to ensure that there is a total, that there is a serious intervention with regard to Somalia's situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, so I want us to ponder so much. I want us to bring and actually try to envisage some of the way out so that we can be able to address the problem of Somalia. So that it will lead us to the question of who actually underdeveloped Africa, and in particular Somalia. So it is the role is either played by the Somalis. Somalis, on one hand, are the ones who caused underdevelopment in Somalia. They are the ones who caused the Somali being one of the failed states in Africa. And when the state fails, when one part of the body organs fails, it will impact heavily on the entire body. So because of the ambitious drive by some leaders in Somalia, the problem is escalated to this level. Now, I don't know how this situation in Somalia will be intervened. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is food for thought. So, I wish to wrap up our discussion on Somalia, because I don't want to discuss any other issue without, because our interest was only focusing on the Somali as a failed state. So that next week, and next lesson, I will have to take you through what really prompted Africans to fail to learn from colonialism, so that we now will be able to underscore the colonial legacies that has actually played a critical role in shaping the African continent. So let me end there for now, so that you allow me to attend some assessment program for school practice. So as a food for thought, let's think about Africans fail, what really went missing in Africa. Did we never had any lesson from the colonialism? Though we have what we call the post-colonial imperialism in Africa? Have we never learned any lesson? So that is food for thought for the next lesson, so that we shall be able to anticipate and appreciate why colonialism should have actually given us an impetus to understanding or sorting out the problem in Africa. So for that matter, let me wrap up there so that we can be able to discuss it this lesson next week. Have a good day. Thank you. So nimemalizia hapo. Stop sharing it. So, alafu ngende